They're not.
Welcome to Reset to Healthier Relationships Sunday nights at 9. I
uh,
am your host, Coach Glenda, here with course manager and co-host Rufus Carpenter. As most of you already know, Rufus and I have created this forum where you can discuss trials and triumphs in past and present relationships. We encourage everyone to share, speak their truth, and talk as much or as little as they would like. Just a few housekeeping rules before we get started. Please mute your devices until you're ready to speak so we can avoid background noise. And let's be respectful and allow everyone to speak their truth and get their comments in. Now, I'm going to give Mr. Carpenter a little bit of time to tell you a little bit about his background and start us off for this evening.
Good evening, everybody. Hey, Mr. Kingdom. Hey, Miss Martin. Hey, Dr. Johnson. Hey, Gigi. Hey, Miss Walker. And I think I got everybody I see so far. And hey, Coach Glenda. Hi, everybody. Again, my name is Rufus Carpenter, and I'm glad to be here this afternoon because Sunday night at 9 has become a container where you have 20, you and 20 of your girlfriends are in a living room, and you take this time to talk about relationships. And your living room is a safe place where you can relax and you can share your truths. Because sometimes when you talk about what's bothering you and what things that you struggle with and your successes as well as your disappointments, you share with your sisterhood, and the sisterhood can learn and glean from you because you don't know the sister beside you. She may seem like everything is okay, but she may dress her issues up a little better than you do. And it seems like she's okay, but she may be suffering from some of the same things that you have went through. And then when you tell her how you solved that problem, she says, wow, I'm not the only person. So that's why this is so important. That's why I became a part of this. Now, my background is a little different than most. I started as a little kid, a family of 14, and we had 3-bedroom house, 1 bathroom, and it was 16 people there in that small space. And see, like we never had enough. I remember one weekend, I think I was about 8, 9 years old. I went out, worked that whole weekend, man. I was energetic. I cut grass. I helped people wash cars. I did shopping for people. And I even went outside the highway and picked up pop bottles. And back those days, people had wood and coal stoves. So I went and got coal for people and I chopped wood. And at the end of that weekend, I realized I had made $35 and some change. So I ran to my mom to give her that $35 because I wanted to help out. And she was so proud I gave her that money. She said, oh, my Lord, son. She kissed me on the forehead and said, I love you, and I'm so proud of you. And she gave me like $1.35 of it to spend on my own. That moment changed my life. From that point on, I saw the importance of being a helper. I saw the importance of contributing. I saw what it took to be a actual valued member of a family. So ever since then, I've been on what's called a helper's high, where I'm just so thrilled to be a part of the success of the organization or the community or the union. So that started my relationship background there, but it didn't stop there. I was married 27 years, and being married 27 years, you learn a thing about commitment. You learn a thing about trust. You definitely learn about communication and then compromise. But these are the things not so much necessary for a successful marriage, but these are the things for a successful human connection and the relationship. My background didn't stop there. I joined the United States Army. And one of my responsibilities in the United States Army was human relation and race relations leader, where I had the responsibility going to all the units within our preview. And anytime we had a relationship or a race problem, I'd be the first person on the scene, and I'd be the one that would determine what resources or level of responsibility would solve that issue. So I'm here because I have a diverse background in relationship, and also I'm one of the males in this. Normally, Sunday night at 9 is more women and female dominated, but there's a few guys like myself. We're up here to uphold the male image. So if any questions that a male need to answer, I'm more than happy to answer those questions. Glenda, let me turn it back over to you.
All right. So tonight's topic is wholeness over neediness. You can be somebody without having somebody. Tonight, we're diving into a powerful truth. You are already whole. You don't need a relationship to define you or make you somebody. Too often, we're taught that our worth is tied to who we are with. But real power comes from embracing wholeness over neediness, building a strong, fulfilled life with or without a partner. Let's talk about how shifting this mindset leads to healthier relationships, stronger self-love, and real freedom. So, in regards to our topic for tonight, we're going to talk about a few concepts. We're going to talk about wholeness starts within, neediness creates unhealthy attachments, your value is not in your relationship status, and wholeness attracts the right love. So, Mr. Carpenter, I think you wanted to kick us off with some.
I do want to kick us off with something because I want to talk about where we came from and how do we got to this point. Because a lot of times when we start talking about the different relationships, a lot of people ask us, how do we get the subjects and how do we get the topics that we start with? A lot of topics we get from going around in the community and we hear certain things. If we hear maybe a group of people talking and they might have a relationship issue that they're talking about, they might say, well, me and my husband, we struggle with this and we struggle with that. And if the subject matter, what they're talking about is interesting, that would help the community, we bring that into one of our discussions. If we walk around and we see somebody arguing or fighting or whatever, and those words are something that we know that would help, that help us avoid a situation, we bring that to the topic also. So that's how we got tonight's topic, as a matter of fact, because wholeness over neediness, you're somebody without somebody. Because a lot of people feel that, hey, I need somebody to validate me. I'm nobody until I have somebody in my corner, somebody that can support me or somebody that can validate me or somebody that can push me forward. No, you don't need that. It's a great thing to have, but you're a whole person by yourself. And as we go further into this, Glenda, I'll bring up the topic on how we got to tonight's topic more in depth. But I just wanted to let people know how we get our topics.
Okay, now, so I'm going to kick us off with some of our examples for this evening. Example 1, the woman who always needs a relationship. Monica jumps from one relationship to the next. She hates being alone. The moment one ends, she's already searching for the next. Each time she changes herself, her style, her interests, her goals to fit the man she's with. After years of this, Monica realizes something. She doesn't even know she is. Feel her, they just distracted her from the loneliness inside. Yeah. She went about it all the wrong way, in my personal opinion. She should have took breaks in between each relationship, my personal opinion, because after you end one relationship, you have to reevaluate what took place, what happened, what didn't happen, what should have happened, and go from there. And then you never should lose yourself in a relationship, because regardless of whether it lasts 6 months or 3 years, maybe even 5 years, you can't lose yourself because there's no guarantee. But as long as you're confident within yourself, I feel as if you can have a productive and successful relationship. So with that being said, does anybody on the line want to speak on this example in regards to if they know anyone or have experienced back-to-back relationships without giving themselves some time to heal or regroup from their relationship before going into another one?
A lot of times, and I'll start it off because sometimes our audience need a few minutes before they really get the gist of which way we're carrying the message tonight. But a lot of times when you when you just broke up or you're in a relationship or you feel like you just lost something, or you feel like you're minus, or you feel like you're upside down, a lot of time people reach out for straws, reach out, hey, I just want to hook up with somebody and let me know that I'm still here. I'm still validated. They're hurt. I need somebody to help me get through the hurt or get through this moment. I can't face this by myself. And they're worried about the wrong, well, when we do that to ourselves, we worry about the wrong things. Instead of taking the time to heal ourselves or taking the time to evaluate what went wrong or what we could have done differently or what we gained or what we learned from the experience, we're so busy trying to get into the next situation because we figure we hook up with somebody else again, we can avoid the pain. We can push beyond this moment. Where really you don't push beyond it. Because when you're in a relationship, a lot of times when you break up from a relationship, a lot of times it's almost like like you're grieving death. It's almost the same. You go through that denial. Hey, was it me or was it them? They didn't really break up with me. I let them go or whatever. You go through the steps, and those steps you have to go through in a relationship. Because if you don't, you're going to carry that same baggage into the next relationship. You're going to be like that Badu song. Sometimes those bags get in the way. So that's the first thing. When you break up with someone and you're in a relationship and you hate to be alone, it's not so much you hate to be alone, it's hate because you hate to realize you see yourself like no hope. You see yourself like the hope is gone, like you're in a hole that you can't pull yourself out of. Mm-hmm. And a lot of this is just self-created. A lot of this is just mental. All right, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take that to go that deep. But these are some things that I've been through this. I had to learn like everybody else learned. I had to stand up on my own 2 feet. So we learn that as we go through some things. I don't know if any of our audience have been through a breakup or been through a relationship or been through a situation where you weren't prepared to break up with someone. It just person dropped the bomb on you, as they say, and it happened. You found yourself on the end of that. You broke. Somebody said, "Hey, you're not my boo no more. I'm through. Peace out, deuces." I don't know if anybody in the audience has been on that before. How did you snap back, or how did you find yourself, or what were the first things that came to your mind? Mm-hmm. I know Dr. Johnson and I talked about that once before. Remember, Dr. Johnson, we talked about those steps of grieving?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Did you want to share that, or you want me to share that?
You could go ahead and share it.
Okay. All right. Now, when you grieve that loss, it's a process that we all go through. And whether we want to say we did or not, or whether we want to believe it or not, there are 5 steps that you go through. And whether it's a relationship, whether it's a deep-seated relationship, or whether it's a death. When you go through those, one of the first things you do is denial. You go into denial. This is not true. It's not happening. We'll get back together real quick. This person just needs space, need a little time. They really don't know. When they realize how important I was in their life, they'll come back and circle back around. And not necessarily. The second thing, a lot of people get angry. Why in the hell this MFer left me? Is he crazy or she crazy? Anger is one of the prevalent things, because anger, as people say, it's sometimes easier for people to be angry and to say, hey, they did it to me. Mm-hmm. It wasn't nothing I did, it's what they did. So you have the anger for them. And then one of the third things people do is bargaining. They say, well, hey, look, if you take me back, I promise I'll be better. It wasn't what you thought. Or they want a bargain. They want a this for that. Hey, if you take me back, I'll be different. I promise you the things I did, I won't do no more. It's a bargaining thing. And one of the fourth thing is something that most people fall into: depression. If you don't have that emotional strength, you fall into depression. Some people won't even get out of bed. Some people don't even eat. Some people have trouble sleeping. Some people just let themselves go.
Yes.
You know, and I don't know if you had some of these. And one of the best ways of dealing with death or dealing with loss of relationship, acceptance. Just accept it. Hey, it didn't work. For whatever reason, it didn't work. You know, here's the lesson I learned from this relationship. Here's how I'm gonna apply this going forward. Or I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna step back for a little bit and accept this and see what I need to do myself to get myself better prepared. Because maybe it was something I did. Maybe I looked in the mirror, maybe it was the fault was mine. So I'm gonna accept this. And I'll be stronger and move forward from this. So do you guys get an understanding how this affects? And I don't know if anybody on the line has been in a relationship that you thought was a person was near and dear to you and it took you by surprise, or even if it didn't take you by surprise and the breakup happened and you had to get through this. Did you feel either one of these 5 emotional states? Did you feel denial, anger? Did you want to bargain? And sometimes I've got to tell you, sometimes not the bargain, you don't bargain with the person that broke up from you. Sometimes you bargain with God. You said, God, if you bring her back into my life, Lord, if you let him come back, I promise you I'm going to love him so much better. So it's not so much bargaining with the person sometimes. Sometimes you bargain with God. You pray and you ask God to help you get that person back into your life. So if you experience some of these, can you share? Can you share some of these things you've been through? Because those 5 steps we go through, even though we may not know what it is at the time, but that's what we go through. Do you, Glenda, you want to share to get us started? Have anybody broke up with you, or you broke up with anybody and you went through either one of these 5 steps?
Absolutely. I go through the anger phase all the time during a breakup. Like, why the heck did I stay in it so long? I beat myself up. And then I've also experienced the depression where it was one time I was engaged and he called to quits for some nonsense and foolishness. And I stopped eating for a long time. I was like, I couldn't believe that, because what he wanted was so small and petty. It was unbelievable. But yes, I've experienced it. Somebody put in, Gigi put in the chat, I didn't want them to come back. I can understand that too. The breakup probably was good for you. So I can relate with that as well. So that means that you felt under acceptance. You accepted the breakup and you moved on. Is that correct, Gigi? You can throw your hand up.
Electronic hand. All right.
That's right. Anybody else want to share a breakup that they wasn't ready for, that took them off guard and had them feeling some type of way?
Well, I had a Dear Linda letter on my dining room table.
Okay.
I was in shock, disbelief, but then I accepted it. Because what can you do? You can't make nobody stay with you if they don't want to stay with you.
Absolutely.
And who would want to be in a relationship like that?
You be
so I accepted it and moved on.
Did it take you long to get over it?
Not really, not after I learned the circumstances of why they left.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, and someone else was speaking when she first started. Who want to share that comment? You want to share the comment, sir?
Yeah, I had an 18-and-a-half-year marriage, and I was blindsided. It took everything in my power to get through that. And what happened was, the way life is, and when it throws you a curveball, the biggest part is to accept the situation and whatever is going on with you. Once you accept it, then and only then can you move forward. because long as you don't accept it, you're in denial. And that's a big burden on you. That's a stressful burden on you. Because that's what I went through. But like with my train wreck and whatever, the biggest part is accepting that I can't do this.
Mhm.
I'm gonna ask everybody. Well, I'm gonna tell everybody. I ain't gonna ask. I'm gonna tell you.
Okay.
God is not gonna heal everyone physically to the point where you back to where you were. He don't work that way. Because if that was the case, we all would be perfect. So what he does is once you accept whatever your situation is to the point where you can somewhat start coping with it, then he will heal your mindset. And once he heals your mindset, then and only then can you move on and have a prosperous life.
Yes.
When they say he's not going to heal me, they think God let them down. But what they fail to realize, God is going to heal you one way or the other. It might not be in the physical, but mentally, he heals you where you can move on,
Yes.
where you can deal with your situation. That's what's going on with me now. That's what went on with me then. But it took me years to understand that. And once he heals you mentally, you don't even look at your situation no more. You move on. Physically, if he don't heal you physically, once you accept it and learn to deal with it, he's going to heal you mentally where you can move on and have a prosperous life and dwell and move
That's
on.
right.
Yep.
And always remember, in a relationship, God makes no mistakes. When he removes something like that or someone in your life, he just opening up the doors for something better.
Exactly.
That's part of that mental healing, knowing that he's finna put somebody or bring somebody better into your situation.
Oh, no.
It's up to
Okay.
you to allow it and accept it.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Kingdom. I appreciate that. Glenda, you want to go into two?
All right. Our next example for tonight, the woman who found herself first. Tasha decided to take a break from dating. She started therapy, traveled, pursued her passion, and built a strong circle of friends. She learned what she actually liked without a man influencing her choices. When she finally met someone, she wasn't desperate for love. She knew she was already whole, and that made her relationship even stronger. Now that's it. Tasha, everybody need to tear a page out of Tasha book because that's exactly what you need to do. I know a lot of people that, like in the previous example, they go from one relationship from the other, never healing totally and completely themselves, or even seeing where they went wrong in the relationship. But right here, Tasha just lets us know that she found herself first, and once she found herself, she was able to find that mate that um she was able to find that mate and have a happier and healthier, stronger relationship. And that's absolutely true. You have to be confident and secure within yourself before you can have any positive, any healthy relationship with the opposite sex. Because just like Mr. Keenan was stating, God's not going to bless you with what he really has for you if you're not right within yourself. And I know that for a fact because after my divorce, I wasn't even divorced. I was still praying for a husband. And nobody could get my math, and neither could I. I just know I didn't want the one that I had before. But God did not bless me with another husband because he knew that I wasn't ready. So once I found myself, I knew what I liked, what I didn't like. God was able to bring Mr. Right into my life when I least expected it. So I can relate to Tasha. She makes a valid point in this scenario.
Okay. Any comments about this one before we move on? Because I think this is a straightforward one. I think the problem, if you love yourself, then you know what you're looking for. Because if you don't know what loving yourself looks like, how are you going to know what loving someone else looks like? So that's pretty much. Anybody got any comments on this one before we move to number three? Okay. Number three.
All right. Example number three, the woman who settled out of fear. Jasmine stayed in a relationship that drained her because she thought, at least I have somebody. No, ma'am. He didn't value her, but she convinced herself that being alone would be worse. Over time, she lost her confidence, her voice, and her joy. One day, she realized being in the wrong relationship was lonelier than being alone. You're right, it is.
No, this scenario right here is what I see the most of. When I talk to people in relationships, this one is what I see the most of. And I don't know if we anyone on in this call or in today can identify with that, but I know you know someone that's been in this situation. Because a lot of times, right, well, the Surgeon General has come on board to say one of the largest epidemics we have in America is widespread loneliness, where a lot of people are just straight up lonely, and it said it's affecting people's health. It's saying people are stressing out. People are having high blood pressure, hypertension, even said diabetes and stuff like that from the stress of being alone. So loneliness is a big issue in America today. So I'm sure because of that, a lot of people figure like, hey, if I attach myself to someone, I have something better than nothing. And as a matter of fact, I've known people that say, well, hey, I might have a piece of woman or a piece of man, but that's my piece of man or my piece of woman. So I know what I have here. And they make themselves satisfied. Or they've figured out how to get along with what they have, and they settle for that situation or that lifestyle. Mm-hmm. What would audience? What would be your conversation, or what would be your remarks to someone that you knew or friend that you knew that was in the situation? What would be your conversation to them?
First of all, they have to learn to love themselves. Okay. But what I can't understand is that a person that does not know how to be with themselves, how to date, date themselves, take yourself out to dinner. You don't always have to have somebody to take yourself out. You work, go out, you meet people like that. But I can't understand a person that cannot take themselves out, cannot love themselves enough to be alone, to be without somebody. You don't have to have anybody, because sometimes if you step out there, get this person may not be good for you. I mean, we talked about homosexuals, we talked about the tax man, we talked about people that just want to get in your house for different reasons. Yeah. But if you learn to love yourself, you learn to step out there. Okay, I don't have anybody to go, but I'm going to go out there because there's always somebody to talk to. There's always somebody there to learn about. You have to learn how to be alone. And that's just me. I don't understand how they can't, because I can go anywhere. I traveled for 7 years by myself. I had nobody, and I would walk into a room and you would think that I knew everybody, but I didn't. I was just, hey, I'm out. And, I just met people. Right. And I generally don't meet strangers, I just meet people and to learn about them. And that's all I got to say on that one.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. A lot of time when people, when they have a fear of being alone, when they think they're out by themselves, they think people looking at them. They think the whole world see that I don't have anybody, or the whole world see that I don't, I'm not booed up, or I don't have that significant other. And the fear, they don't want their girlfriend or guy friend to know that I don't have anybody, that, hey, in their mind, they think they're doing bad. Where really sometimes you don't even want the headache. Any more comments about example 3 before we move on?
Well, I'm always, you got to learn to love yourself before you can actually love someone else. Once you learn you love yourself, you know your worth and what have you. And then you can accept the fact that, hey, it's okay being alone. Me being a people person, hey, I go out and I eat by myself. I go to the movie by myself. But in the midst of doing that, I might be at the counter. I run into somebody just to conversate with. And you pick up friends just on simple like that. Even with going shopping. Just learn how to be yourself, be by yourself, and that will boost your self-esteem.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, I one about 4 episodes back, weeks back, I was trying to remember the song about with Charlie Wilson, the song when he met the lady in the food court, and the song is "My Name Is Charlie." And last name Wilson. That's a prime example. He said that you know being an entertainer and having money and stuff, that it's hard to be with somebody. He had a little fear that it was hard to be with somebody. He said, you know, so he don't know who to trust.
Right.
So in his song, he said he was going into the mall and saw this lady at the food court, and he said he saw Miss Lady, and he, you know, he knew that was going to be his wife and his girlfriend, and the story of his story was that he saw this lady, he went and he talked to this lady, and from talking to this lady, it made a match, and she in turn became his wife, and they want to have babies and this kind of stuff. But what they were saying is he wasn't afraid to be out there by himself. He wasn't afraid to reach out. You know, he said from the beginning of the song, he said it was a fear because he didn't know who to trust.
Mm-hmm.
But when he saw this, he was out by himself. He said, he was just rolling to the mall. He was out by himself, and he saw the lady, and his whole world changed. You know, when Gigi said she goes out by herself and eat, and she talked, and Mr. Kingdom said when he go out and talk to people, you know, he sees somebody out by themselves. This is a prime example. It works. It happens. Okay, good. I mean to bring it up because I remember that night that I was trying to say the name of that song, and I could never remember what the song was.
Okay, no problem. All right, our fourth example, the woman who embraced wholeness and won. Angela used to believe that her life wouldn't be complete until she had a husband. But she challenged that idea. She built her business, took care of her body and mind, and surrounded herself with love from family and friends. Now she feels powerful, fulfilled, and at peace. She knows she is already somebody, whether she's single or married. That just piggybacks off of the other three examples, in my personal opinion. I mean, she embraced her wholeness without even having a man, and she, you know, she found her peace. She's fulfilled and she's powerful, and she knows who she is already. She's very confident based off this example. And so when Mr. or Miss Right comes her way, she's already going to be ready to receive them because she's already a whole person. She doesn't need validation. She doesn't need anybody's approval because she's already there.
That's awesome. Any comments about this last example for the night? Any comments anybody want to share? Or anybody got any thoughts of that or any examples? Okay. If there's no examples of that, Glenda, can I have a moment to say how did we get to this message tonight?
Right.
Okay, remember everybody, we ended 2024 without moving the needle. Our goal was to move the needle in relationships in 2025. Remember how we started there, and that was our last Sunday night at 9 in 2024, and we wanted to move the needle, and we had everybody saying that we wanted you to think about what would be your best, what would be your best relationship goals, or how would you stand in your relationship at the end of 2025? And what we started was a series to get us moved to establish a relationship, I guess, improvement pattern or relationship pattern where we would look at our relationships, and some of us just said, hey, we're happy being single. Some of us said, hey, we're blissfully single. We want to be single. We're not looking for anybody, which is great. And some of us said that we wanted somebody. And some of us even went further that we want to be engaged in marriage and whatever going in 2025. So what we did, we closed out 2024 with saying, let's move the needle in relationships and connection in 2025. And our first Sunday Night at 9 in 2025 was starting new in 2025. And we talked about what would a relationship look like? What are some of the things, what are some of the goals we should have in relationship building? What are some of the things, and if we're happy being single, great. But even if you're happy being single, we said that all relationship building is not so much for a lover or a love interest. Sometimes it's being with your family, your friends, your coworkers. And we broaden that relationship and connection out where it could be family, it could be friends, it could be a sister or a brother, or it could be someone that you always was kind of close to, not so much that you're going to have a relationship, a sexual relationship or romantic relationship. It's someone that you just want to have a relationship for. So we kind of broaden it out. And then we went from there. We went in the second Sunday Night at 9 in 2025. We went to release and renew, transform relationships. We wanted everybody to take a moment to look at your current relationships and look where you've been. Look at some of the successes and look at some of the challenges you had in 2024 and the first part of 2025. And from those challenges and from those breakthroughs, we wanted you to kind of roadmap yourself going forward. And then we went into the remember the unbothered, unapologetic, prioritizing self-love. And we wanted to talk about that. We talk about self-love because when you deal with relationships, you're dealing with communication, you're dealing with self-care, self-love, you're dealing with boundaries, you're dealing with emotional empathy, you're dealing with these type of things you deal with. And if you don't get these things in line, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to have a successful relationship without trust. So these things are things we deal. And then the third part of 2025, we talked about emotional healing, the journey for inner peace. Because when somebody takes your peace, your whole world is in chaos, upside down. So how do you retain your joy? What does that journey for emotional healing looks like? Because I'm sure some of us, a lot of us have been hurt along our way because the majority of people in this line are in our 40s, 50s, and some 60s and 70s. So what does that emotional healing looks like for you? The journey to inner peace. How do you process the pain? How do you reduce stress? How do you reclaim your joy? And then we went to the facade of perfection. We said some of us dress ourselves up pretty well. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't know what goes on behind the walls. You know, some of us, we maintain a fake image for society. So we talked about that. Then we talked about covert narcissists, recognizing the signs, the covert signs. How do you spot the manipulation? How do you spot somebody's messenger inner peace? How do you spot those? And some people are so slick. Some people will give you stuff and they'll treat you really, really good. And sometimes the stuff they give you and the way they treat you is just to rope you in. It's a setup, it's a trap. They're manipulating you. They're making you feel like, hey, like you have to be a certain way. You have to be obligated. How can you determine what's real and what's not if you're not aware? If you don't know what self-love looks like? And then we went on to that. We went past that. We said, what's my past? What's my truth? And then we talked about sharing history and how to build a better understanding. And as we went through that, we talked about judgment. When you tell a person your truth And when you take time to confide in a person, you're not doing it for them to say, hey, judge you, or saying, hey, I this or that. You're not looking for judgment. All you want to do is share your truth, and you want to feel comfortable realizing who you are. Whether it's a relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a partnership, or whether it's a family member, whether it's a coworker. And then we went to love and wellness, the benefits of healthy relationships, the science behind love and well-being. We talked about that. And if you can see the pattern going here, and you can see how we're going with the pattern, you see which way we're doing this thing. And then we're in this week, we're talking about wholeness over neediness. And if you notice these things, all these things are tying into what we've been talking about all along. We've been doing this over a year now. So we talked about what the relationship's all about. We talked about the stages of relationships. We talked about your love language. We talked about your attachment styles. All these things are building on the things because we want the end of 2025. We want you to be in your best place for what you consider your relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship, whether it's a friendship, or whatever you want to build. We want to give you the tools and the resources. And that's why a lot of times we ask you to comment, because sometimes when you give your comments and you tell how you deal with some of the situations we bring up, you might be surprised who say, oh, wow. He or she conquered that. That's easy. That makes it easy. I've always wondered how to do that. And that's why Glenda and I, we're on the hook. Glenda and I, we're on the hook. We're the coaches, so we have to tell our truth. We have to be in front of you. Our face have to be here. We have to tell what we've been through and some of the things that we have accomplished, and some of our breakthroughs, as well as some of our challenges. And that's what this is all about. That's what Sunday night at 9 is all about. Sunday night at 9 is about you getting the opportunity to hear from us, to hear from the community, and you're the community online. So feel free to always share, and you can put in the chat, you can put questions in the chat that we can ask the group as we go on in the meetings. You can put questions in there. And if you have any concerns or anything that we don't cover or you think we should cover, put it in the chat. I think you have our email address. And Glenda, if you don't have to put it in there. And I think a lot of you have my phone number. And I don't know if you have Glenda's phone number, a way to get in touch with Glenda. I think you have an email. But this is something that we do as a community. We don't charge for Sunday night at 9, and we're not asking you to pay any money for Sunday night at 9, because this is something we do. This is a gift to the community, and we learn just as much as you learn. We learn from you. When you share, you give us the knowledge and the chance to be a part of this. When I first got involved with Sunday night at 9, I thought it was going to be something that I would do for a little bit and I'd break away from it. But I've learned so much, and I have so much fun, and interacting with you is such a beautiful thing for me. I'm here for the long haul. Like I said in my spiel, normally I'm a helper. I will have what's called a helper high, and it's a part of me now. I think somebody else said on the line in one of our Sunday night 9 that they'll get the person a shirt off their back, and that's the way I see it. What we want to do is take this last 15 minutes to give anybody on the line a chance to talk about any relationship topic you want to talk about, ask any questions of the audience you want, not ask questions of the audience direct. You can't say, well, Gigi, what about this? Or Ava, what about that? But the question for the whole Sunday night 9, any questions you want to ask, any questions that you felt that you have some concerns with, or you want to answer from the whole group. Okay.
And Mr. Carpenter, you're asking them not to speak on this particular topic for tonight. Is that correct?
Any topic they want to talk about. Any topic they want to talk about, anything they have in their own heart they want to share, or any questions they have on their own heart they want to share. Okay, let's take the last 10 or 15 minutes and just do that open forum. And if you want to speak it out, or if you want to put it in a text, or if you want to, however you want to get it out, because this is
I
your
don't
time now.
I don't have necessarily a question. Um, I have an identical twin. So, you know, I've never been alone. Even when I didn't have anybody, a significant other.
Mhm.
And so even when I'm supposed to be alone, I'm not alone. Can you understand what I'm saying there?
Yeah.
Very much so.
Okay.
Okay, can I comment too on that? I was a twin at birth. I was a twin. I had a twin brother up until senior year of high school. We were really close. Matter of fact, everybody said we were identical. They said we looked alike. My father couldn't tell us apart. My name was Rufus. His name was Reuben. My father would call me Reuben, and he would say, "Reuben, do this," and I wouldn't move, and he'd be ready to beat me. Tell me, "Why you didn't move when I asked?" I said, "Dad, you said Reuben. I'm Rufus." So my dad started calling me and my twin brother Rufus Reuben. So no matter what name, which one of us was, we had to answer because he called both names. So when you said you never felt alone, up until I was 18, I never felt alone. But after 18, I was always feeling alone. When my twin brother died, I always felt alone. I got married prom night in high school. One of the reasons I got married prom night in high school because I was so alone. I felt alone in this world all by myself. And I got married prom night in high school because I couldn't deal with that loneliness. I felt I needed someone close enough that I could depend on and trust to not validate me and not to complete me, but to actually embrace who I was.
Mhm.
And I was married 27 years, and it started just like that. Now, as me and my wife together, I learned to love her the way I should have. But at first, it was an empty void I had to fill. So I understand exactly what you said, Gigi. So thanks for sharing that.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes,
Andre
ma'am.
put in the chat to her point, how is someone who is independent supposed to date? Meaning, if you are always doing things for yourself.
Okay, that's a good one. Anybody
Mhm.
else want to tackle that before Glenda and I get in? Anybody in the audience want to tackle that? Read that question again, Glenda, so that way everybody got it.
Okay, no problem. How is someone who is independent supposed to date? Meaning, if you are always doing things for yourself.
Anyone want to answer that? Anybody in the audience want to answer that before we weigh in on it?
Mhm.
Okay, let me start out
Okay.
because I've dated someone that was super independent. And as a matter of fact, I call them high strung because they were so independent that they always was one step ahead of me with everything. It was something to do, they would say, "Do it now, do it this," and you be saying, "Damn, slow down, slow your roll, woman." There's a tomorrow. We don't have to do everything today. But they were so committed to they had the rhythm of life. They were so independent, they had their own rhythm of stuff. So when that happens, you got to realize something. It's two people coming together in a relationship. As you go and grow together, you learn it. You learn to. I don't know how to say this the right way. You learn to be what the other needs. That union comes together. When you first come together, that stage. Remember that stage we said of a person when you first come in, when you first meet somebody. That first stage, that honeymoon stage. Think
Mhm.
about it. When you're in that first honeymoon stage with somebody, you and them together. When you're together, they can't do no wrong, and you can't do no wrong. And you just love them, and they love you, and you love them to death. But as you go through that honeymoon stage, that second stage, that uncertainty stage, then they start realizing that, hey, that you're so independent that you really don't need them, or they feel like you don't need them. That's when you and that person have to decide how you gonna make this work. You know, how are you going to work this? What do you two have to learn from each other, and how you two together are going to have to work this out? How do you give and how do you receive? How do you go back and forth? And that's what that second stage is, uncertainty stage. Now, the third stage is the adjustment stage or the bliss stage. If you and that person have kind of worked this out, that you're independent and they're whatever you need from them, they need from you. If you guys have worked it out and it works good, then you guys have a relationship and you decide to go stay together, and then you go into commitment stage. And then from there to the acceptance stage. Now, in that third stage, that adjustment stage, if you're so domineering because you're so used to doing it, being independent, and they can't deal, then they break off. You guys agree to break up. And that's how that happens. That's the process of making that work. Because you don't know what you need from them or what they need from you because you're so independent. But as you and that person go through those first three stages, the honeymoon stage, uncertainty stage, and the adjustment stage, that's when that works out. And if you guys find a workable solution, you have a relationship. If you don't, you don't. Glenda, you want to jump on that or?
Well, no, not at this moment. Actually, Andre added another part to his question. So do you kind of learn to just delegate responsibility to your partner in a Cindy? Is that correct, Andre?
The type I was saying, in a sense, do you just learn to just delegate?
Oh, in a sense. Okay, in a sense. Okay.
Like, so that the partner feels valuable, do you just kind of delegate, I guess?
You got to realize when you say that, if you're gonna lessen yourself, if you're gonna back down, if you're gonna shrink so they can feel appreciated, it may not work. You see what I'm saying, Andre?
Yes, sir. But I'm just thinking to myself, like, for example, if I'm used to doing my laundry, and I normally just do my laundry a certain way, so that she can feel important, do I just kind of just give her the laundry and just say, okay, great?
That word delegate is inappropriate because you don't want to like dictate or tell somebody what to do and how to do it. What it is called communication. If somebody is doing something wrong and they don't know they're doing it wrong, the communication coming of you, okay, this is how I would normally do it. You let somebody know where you at and what the way that you do it. That's communication. You don't just delegate nothing because that's like I'm telling you what to do. No, you don't. I think that's inappropriate myself. Now, that's my opinion.
And that's why that third stage is so important, that adjustment stage, because there's no right or wrong here. And when I'm saying there's no right or wrong in that adjustment stage, it's where you and that person find what works and don't work. And if you worked it out in that third stage, you have a relationship. If you haven't worked it out, you don't have a relationship. And that's why that runway is so important. Glenda called it a runway. That runway is so important that when you meet a person, to the time you guys decide it's going to work or not work, that runway is so important, because this is when you solve those opportunities there. And it may be where you might have to go to some type of relationship counseling, where you guys might say, well, hey, look, here's my responsibility, here's your responsibilities. And you guys agree to that, that's going to be it. So it's no right or wrong. It's that those three stages and that runway is where this is worked out. Any additional questions or any other input on that?
I would like to say something to what Andre was saying. I think for him, no, you don't just give them you don't just say, oh, okay, you can just do this, you can do that. I think just like Mr. Kingdom said, you do have to talk about it. And I think you have to say, this works for me or that don't work for me. I'm so used to doing this on my own. It's difficult for me to release this and let someone else take control and do this. I don't really know how to even feel about it. Let's talk about it. I think he just have to really talk about that, because I understand that definitely.
Yeah, to clear it up a little bit, what I mean by communicate, when you let somebody know something, like Andre, if you per se dictate or delegate something to someone to do it, okay, and you allow them to do it, and if it's the wrong way, all that's going to do is just add fuel to the fire for a later or the confrontation, because it's like me tapping on your shoulder. If I tap on your shoulder for so long and it's irritating you, sooner or later you're gonna curse me out or go off on me about tapping on your shoulder. So what you do is you communicate and let them know how you used to doing it, the way you used to doing it, and y'all come to a medium and make it work. That's communication. You don't want to let her just do it just because to say for the sake of argument or something like that, because all it's going to do is build up to a bigger one at the end because you don't like it in the first place. It's called stop it before it gets started.
Let me share how I dealt with a relationship of someone that's so independent and they've ran their own household and are so independent for so long. Here's how I dealt with it, Andre, so to give you some kind of idea. You have to first look at the third stage is called adjustment stage. And it's called adjustment stage for a reason. What you have to look at, your love for that other person's love for you. That's the first thing you got to look at. Do you love this person enough to adjust and change? Because you got to realize human beings changes. The most thing that we're going to experience in our life is change. Change is inedible. I can't even say the word inedible, or whatever that word is. Change is going to happen. So your love for that person, are the benefits of your love for that person is sufficient enough that you can adjust and change in certain ways. I'm not talking about change to core who you are, but certain things. If your love for the other person is so strong and you're willing to change some things in your life, to that adjustment stage is just what it is, adjustment stage, because you're two different human beings. You're two different sides of that coin. You're not going to get 100% of what you want, and that person's not going to get 100% of what they want. But the thing about it, if that 80-90% is what you want, or if the good outweigh the bad, or if that adjustment is such that you love the person, they love you so much that you guys can work through it, that it's not a deal breaker, then you have a relationship. But if you're so set in your ways, that they're so set in their ways that they're not going to change, you're not going to change, are you going to have trouble in the camp forever? What I did when I went through mine, my love for the person was such that I said, okay, not a problem. Now, I did let the person know. I said, let's talk. I said, because you're a little high strung and you want it yesterday, or you want it, and I don't move as fast as you move because I don't see this. I don't have that same sense of urgency that you have. So can we meet in the middle? Can we decide this? And the love was so strong that we could work it out and we could move forward. But there was an impact. There was a place that we stopped, and it was a hard stop that we had to say, let's talk. So I hope that helped you somewhat. But let's do this. Let's end tonight because we're almost at that time. Let's save 10 or 15 minutes next week and do the same thing and bring out some things, because this is interesting, because these are real life situations. Because when you said what you said, man, my antennas went up quick. Woo, darn, I just went through that not long ago. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And it made it very plain, okay? Because next week's topic is a little different. Next week's topic is a little different than this week. So, and next week, I think next week's topic kind of goes into this question, Andre. So let's end right here. Glenda, let's take us home. Anything you want to talk about before we go home?
No, we're at 9:59. I'm just happy that everybody showed up and they participated. I'm hoping that everybody have a wonderful upcoming week, and I look forward to seeing you next Sunday.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for everybody coming in. I appreciate it. I see Kingdom. I see Ava. I see Gigi. I see Walker. I see Annette. I see Andre. What happened to Dr. Johnson and Sharon? I think we lost Sharon.
No, Dr. Johnson.
I see Dr. Johnson, but I think we lost Sharon.
Happy birthday to me as of yesterday.
Whose birthday was yesterday?
Mine.
Okay, really?
Happy birthday.
Can anybody sing happy
birthday.
birthday? I'm not a good singer, but I want to happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. Kingdom. Happy birthday to you. All right, that's good, everybody.